right, welcome. We're back. Bow, 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 bow. It's a Tuesday review, Zoom isolation lockdown stage 4 edition. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Callum.
And we're in the COVID Central, aka
That's it.
Melbourne, Victoria. And
The northern
Melbourne.
suburbs.
yeah, and they've just announced we're in stage 4 lockdown because people wouldn't stay the fuck home. What the fuck? Come on.
Two of us in this Zoom meeting, work in retail.
Zoom
and
podcast, thank you very much.
Sorry, in this Zoom podcast. And I tell you, there's quite a lot of people that aren't doing the right thing, and it's very disappointing.
Well, I was lucky enough to escape the retail game before it really started. Like I was the first couple of months of the pandemic, I was there, but yeah, I feel sorry for you guys. Fuck me,
man. Like a few weeks ago, I had stress leave because I couldn't handle it.
How are you doing?
And now I'm on annual leave because I got back from the stress leave and I'm like, I'm putting in 2 weeks. I want some time off.
Yeah, look, what a time to be alive and in retail.
It's fantastic.
Like, how are you guys doing with the masks and stuff?
Masks don't bother me.
Is there a significant delay between when I start talking and when you guys see me?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
no, that sounds right.
The issue, I don't mind wearing masks all day, but I found I have less patience than I thought I would for customers that come into the store without it.
Yeah.
And I work in a freestanding store, so we can't actually enforce anything. There's no security I can call. We just have to deal with it, let him in.
Yeah.
Because I know you're doing the wrong thing. You know you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit how like you can't really enforce it, and there's obviously like you can't. I mean, you could call the cops, but then that's just kind of, excessive.
Weird.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I remember like with the first set of lockdowns, I'm just like, no one's taking it seriously, and there's no way you can enforce it unless there's a cop in every corner. And really, like people when left to their own devices won't follow the rules.
No, they don't care.
Yeah, so this is why we're in stage 4. This is why there's like 600 cases a day.
I mean, and James, I thank the gods that me and Callum got a home theater installed when we did.
Oh man,
I envy you guys. Like I watch a lot of shit on my like crappy like 40-inch TV. But like, there's just I got 4Ks. I'm like, what do I do? I'm not even gonna watch this.
Look, you know what?
The decision...
when they get relaxed, and we can have like a visitor. You'll get the first invite,
Look,
James. Come in and watch the big screen.
Alan will supersede me. He'll be like, no, me first.
There was nothing short of prescient.
We just won't tell
I have
Alan.
to say,
that's right.
Especially in our area where Hoyt is probably not going to open until what? Maybe September.
Oh, if we're lucky.
If everything goes well.
October, maybe, yeah.
It makes me so envious, man, because you see all these classic movies they're playing elsewhere, and it's like they're playing all these really good movies, like older films that, we like going to see older classics at the cinemas. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And then it's like that little asterisk on Twitter that says, cinemas are closed in Melbourne under government advice. It's like, oh.
Yeah. That's like they said they're going to release Tenet in Australia in August. I'm like, everywhere except fucking Victoria.
And we can't travel.
Can't travel out of state, yeah. Oh, God.
Well, you know where we can't travel? And that's Germany. The location of the show we're talking about on the show today.
Yeah, so today, before we get into that, like, one of the reasons I just wanted to, check in with listeners is, like, because we have no idea what the hell's going on. We have no idea how long this stuff's gonna last, lockdowns and pandemics and whatever. Because last episode, I planned on doing a couple other episodes in between that one and this one, and we recorded last episode I think a week before the murder of George Floyd. And
oh my God!
And then
that seems like a lifetime away, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I uploaded it just as the protests started. And when I uploaded, I'm like, I don't see the point in this. and like I got really I was just over it. And one of my plans was we were going to review The Hunt. Remember we talked about The Hunt
Yeah.
with the rich
Yeah.
people hunting the book. And I'm like, in this political climate, I just don't have
Yeah.
the energy for that shit. And like it just got worse and worse and worse. And like
Race to the bottom, baby.
yeah.
There's a time and a place.
And yeah, it's like it got so like I didn't have the energy for it, and like I stopped all social media stuff. I'm just I need a rest.
There's normal anxiety,
Yeah.
but then society's kind of a part of the air you breathe now, and I don't say that lightly. I just mean even my dad admitted today. He's like, everything's just anxious now.
Yeah, exactly.
It just is.
And that's part of like me trying not to be on social media all the time. It's like it's always in your face, so you don't get a rest, you don't get time to process or whatever. And I mean, obviously it's important to be politically active, and we always talk about politics on the show, and especially now it's more important than ever to be politically active. But yeah, I just like I needed a rest, and it was just there's stuff like I didn't really want to talk about. And then there's like lockdowns and work and stuff. Like I moved back into the office, and then the lockdown, I moved back home, and then I moved back.
Yeah, your workstation.
Then I moved back to the office again when the first lockdown ended, and then this lockdown happened, and I moved back. It's just like I've been like yo-yoing, and it's crazy. So I just wanted to, let listeners know, like I'm not even sure.
We're around still.
We're around. We're still doing the episodes, but like maybe once every once every month, once every 2 months. I don't know.
We'll see what the Thunderdome has in store for us first.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think if, say, Zoom or Skype or however we're going to use it, if we get into a nice rhythm, we could probably do it more frequently.
We had a lot of technical issues just getting this up and running.
It took us over an hour to get started.
Yeah, so we'll see how that. And also, it also depends on.
Who would have thought that a radio station is simpler?
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I loved going to the radio, because it's like they have all the stuff there. But it also depends on content. Like there's heaps of stuff coming out on Netflix and stuff, but I'm just like, what's good to talk about on the show? So we obviously all agreed that Dark is definitely something we wanted to talk about. Umbrella Academy started this weekend, so we're recording this on the 3rd of August. By the time I edit and upload it, it'll probably be the middle of August, so this will all be old news. But yeah, maybe next month we'll come back and do Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
The Boys comes out in September, I think. Boys season 2.
A good couple of months for superhero TV.
Yeah. So we'll see. I just want to say, listeners, I'm not sure what we're going to do. We might come back in a month and do those. We might not come back for 2 months.
Yeah.
But
it's not over.
No, definitely not. Yeah, just because we're doing less doesn't mean.
Look. I think people understand. Because like the world is in an interesting place right now, and we're only small fish in a big pond. I think everyone else is having an interesting time of their own right now.
Everyone's in this. Yeah, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone knows what we're talking about. So as Callum was alluding to before, the great fatherland of Germany has gifted us with
a most precious gift.
Yeah, the most precious gem, especially in time of isolation and lockdown. A most precious gem.
You say that, but the show stressed me out.
Man, look.
That's fair enough. All right, so tonight we're talking about Dark. All 3 seasons, the complete series. This is the first time we've talked about a complete series, right?
Yeah.
So,
all in one go.
Yeah, all 3 seasons of Dark, the German sci-fi drama. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thriller murder mystery.
Yeah, mind-bending time travel murder mystery.
Yeah, pretty much. So the show started a few years ago, and the first season, the idea to get people intrigued was I'm I'm projecting this. They didn't say this, but they kind of wanted to appeal to a Twin Peaksy audience with like a mysterious murder set in a small town called Wyndon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like because it's all set in one small town in the first season.
It's
the same people, throughout their different stages of their lives, and like that's a very Twin Peaksy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very Twin Peaksy, but it's also like it's got the whole Stranger Things.
Exactly. It's like Twin Peaks meets
it's
Stranger
like a
Things.
group of teenagers, murder mystery, small town. So it's like Twin Peaks, Stranger Things, but it's also it's in the name. It's dark.
Oh yeah.
Everything's very serious.
I think what was the word you used to use? Grimdark.
Grimdark.
It's aggressively overbearingly moody.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated.
And that too. Yeah. Like that's what I like about it though. It's just like aggressively German.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Whatever that means.
No, I think it's
because
very methodical.
Yeah, like you think of like teenagers on bikes in a small town going on a time travel adventure, but it's like super serious.
Let's just say, the themes in
and
the story goes where the themes in the story take the show in a direction where an English American show would not go.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons.
Very European.
Yeah,
it's very European in a good way.
Yeah, one of the reasons I really liked it is because you'd never get this kind of show like from America.
You mean all the incest?
Oh, there's a lot of incest in American shows, but time travel incest? Question mark.
That's a unique flavor, isn't it?
Yeah,
of incest.
I guess we should say like we'll go on
content warning.
Yeah, but before that, like. This is a show I'd highly recommend, but it's also very hard to recommend because it's not a fun, light show.
It does not hold your hand. I still probably only understand about three quarters of it.
Oh, look,
I'm sure there's tons I missed.
I mean, we'll talk about the finer details, but I think it's important to let listeners know that I feel like this isn't a perfect show. There are some questions they set up that they do not follow through on in a way that is satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
But that's because they have so many moving parts that you'd need an entire season just to deconstruct everything.
Yeah.
Like a whole extra season explaining everything slowly. And they don't do that.
Yeah. I like the fact that it doesn't hold your hand, but also I like the fact that it has a story to tell. It's 3 seasons and there's a reason it's 3 seasons, which we'll talk about. It's a show that's so complex that it could go for 5, 6, 10 seasons if it really wanted to. And then they could flesh out every little bits and pieces. But that's not really the point. And I think that would be kind of excessive.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as I was saying, like it's a show I'd highly recommend, especially to people who, like time travel and mystery and murder mystery and sci-fi and stuff like that. But
paradoxes.
People who like Primer.
Yeah, it's basically pretty much But it's also hard to recommend because it's like you can't just chuck it on Friday night, for fun or
I want to relax. It's time to relax after work. It's time to put on dark.
Yeah. And it's also it's like I was racking my brain. I'm like, who do I know who would like this? And like, I thought of a couple of friends, but I'm like, I can't really recommend it to them because it's not a really enjoyable show in a traditional sense. But if you're out there listening, and you haven't seen the show, give it a crack. Give it at least the first season because it's fucking incredible.
If you like shows that will challenge you, that will make you think, and
also
the show has a lot of reward, but you have to work for it.
Yeah, you have to pay attention.
If you are going to watch it, make sure to watch it with the German audio. The reason I say that is because in some shows you can kind of watch it with the English dub and it's okay. But with this one specifically, I watched the first episode with the English audio and it was terrible. The German audio conveys everything so much more naturally.
Although you say that, but if you look at German reactions, Apparently, the Germans aren't too keen with the German dub either.
But at least it's natural. You know what I mean?
But
like
no, but that's the
there are
apparently
people
it's
who
not
speak.
natural. No, but apparently they don't. See,
No,
I
but
was
my
reading
point
up
is
on.
there are people who speak, and it's very clearly not that person speaking.
Yeah,
And it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
yeah. I was
As
reading up on it, reviews, and in Germany, obviously the show is very well received, and it's very critically acclaimed for its story, its themes, its budget, all that kind of good stuff. But apparently, they reckon the Germans reckon the acting is terrible.
Yeah, well,
It's very much like very much like wooden stage actors that just yell everything.
I was gonna say that because I'm watching the show and I'm like, everyone's so intense and serious all the time. I'm like, is that just because they're speaking German? Like,
yeah, but apparently though, it's something that not a lot of Westerners notice, but all the Germans it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it was in English, I would have the same reaction, but because it was in German, I was like,
I didn't notice. Yeah, it didn't bother me.
All the super serious, like, over enunciation and like overreaction. Like, I was like loving it.
Yeah. And it fits the show though.
Mikkel. Wo ist Mikkel?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, should I say Wann ist Mikkel?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. As a rule of thumb, I'd say never watch dubs of live action movies. Anime, maybe you can get away with, but live action, always watch in the original language with subtitles. But Netflix, I think in some places Netflix does have a habit of automatically putting the English dubs on foreign shows.
When I watched Dark for the first time, it was auto set to the English dub.
Yeah, so be careful.
And then I changed it.
Yeah, if you're watching it, be careful. Make sure it's in the original German and subtitles. But anyway, this is all to say that if you're listening now and you haven't seen the show, I recommend it. Check it out. It's definitely worth watching. I think it's one of the best shows on television.
It hooked me after episode 1. Yeah. I was ride or die. I was telling them I'd come into the studio when we were back there, like, you boys got to watch it. And Nathan and James were like, no, you know what? It's 3 seasons. We'll just wait until it's all done and then watch it.
I watched the first season.
Just because of how complicated it is if you watch it all at once.
I don't regret waiting.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. It would be helpful. But for me, I was like, I need to watch it. I got to watch it. Season 2 came out. I was like, got to binge it.
Yeah.
Similarly to James, I watched the first season when it came out though, and then when the second season came out, I'm like, you know what? I might just wait for the third season and then rewatch it from the start.
Yeah.
I tried like a recap video, and it did not help me at all. I had to start from season 1.
It's too complex to.
It's way too complicated to wait a year between seasons.
Yeah, and to condense into a recap video or something. So yeah, like. I am glad I waited for all 3 seasons to finish, and then just like I watched like 1 a night, 2 a night, or whatever, and that was the best way to watch it. But yeah, if you haven't watched it, I recommend it. It's a fucking great show. Just so.
You know, and I know on the show before some people would think that we get paid by Netflix, but man, let me just say though, like,
hey, man,
only Netflix would do this. You know what I mean? Like, what other studio is there who would give these people 3 seasons to tell the strangest,
and it's
darkest, violent, weirdest story they can?
Also, for a German show, I'm assuming it's very high budget because
it's the only German Netflix original, so they went, or it was at the time, and they went massive with it.
Yeah, like it seems like because American shows. Big budget doesn't matter. We've seen all that, but a big budget German show with at least or maybe not a mainstream following, but a cult following in English speaking countries, like that's pretty cool. But if you're listening,
and the cast, how well they were cast.
Oh, we'll get to that in a sec because like casting, like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10.
Emmy, can you get Emmy for casting choices? Is there an Emmy nomination?
I'm pretty sure there is. Like whoever the casting director was deserves like half of the praise of why this show is so good. Because you've got like the young version, the old version, the middle-aged version. Anyway, we'll get to that. But yeah, if you're listening and you haven't seen the show, recommend it. But also, we're going to spoil the show.
Yeah,
but in saying that, the show is so complicated and convoluted that we cannot do it justice we can't even really explain the plot because it's so twisty and mind bendy and
Yeah, check out the Netflix
paradox.
website where you can see like the big like labyrinthine kind of map they have.
Is it darknetflix.io? Is that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I got it written down here somewhere.
But even then, you have to look at that and still digest it. It's a task.
You can only really understand that if you've seen the show. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, if you haven't seen the show and you're listening to this, it's not going to make any damn sense. It'll hardly make sense if you have seen the show. So, I'd recommend pausing this, watching the show, binge it. It's a great show. And then come back and listen to us gush over how great it is. Because we're going to go into it, but it's not going to make any damn sense because it's just a super, super complicated show. So I guess in saying that, full spoilers, even though you can't really spoil this show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I could spoil anything.
Yeah, like we can tell you everything that happens and you'll still be like, I have no idea what's going on. I have to watch the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, one thing I want to start with is, how like 10 years ago or whatever, when like big, where streaming shows and cable shows, premium cable shows, like were just sort of starting to become a thing, and people were like, they're like 10-hour movies, and 10 years later, and every streaming show and every premium cable show is like a 10-hour movie. Like it's not a special thing anymore, and we've seen that shift from narrative film to narrative television, and all the good storytelling is on TV now.
Yeah. This
is a show that I can 100% say feels like a 30-hour movie.
Yeah.
This was a very deliberately and well constructed story from start to finish.
And that's kind of why I compare it to Twin Peaks as well, especially season 3, where it has that.
I'd say that's different because you had the first 2 seasons, which were commercial television. Then you had 25 years. Then you had the return, as they called it. This is very much a deliberate 3-season arc. I
was only talking about season 3. The way,
but I'm just saying, for this show specifically, it's the 3 seasons, 10 episodes for the first season, 8 episodes for season 2 and 3. It's one story from start to finish. It's the same cast. It's the same It's the same director for every episode, who co-created the show.
Good. Yeah.
Baron Bo Oda, I think. I don't know how to pronounce the name. And every episode is written by Jantje Fries. I don't know how to pronounce the name. But those two co-created the show. So it's like a writer-director, like 2 guys, like working on every episode. I'm assuming the crew was the same for 99% of the show. The cast
very cohesive,
the cast is all the same. So, that cliche now at this point, it feels like, Game of Thrones feels like a movie. It's like, at this point, like, that's boring. Like, that's every TV show. But Dark is a show that is 100% like a long movie. It's very deliberately one cohesive vision from start to finish. And that's one of the reasons it works so well,
Yeah, absolutely. And it really has that it engages you. Like I said,
it's like they don't feel like separate seasons.
No,
it's like, and it's told, all the episodes are told so well. Like the cliffhangers are in the right spaces, like they give you enough in every episode to keep you engaged, but they keep a little on the side as well to keep you going. Like there's nothing that's ever fully explained in one episode. It's like you got to keep watching it. You want to know?
It's like
got to wait till the next season.
Yeah, it's like every episode has like a cliffhanger, so it leads you into the next one. But they still feel like they're always continuing on in one sort of. The pace is never broken. Like it doesn't feel like it's broken up into episodes. It's just the pace of it. It's like we drop a bombshell, end credits, here's the next part, the next scene.
Was there more I would have liked to have seen? Would I've liked to have seen growth in different characters? Like, yes. But I think from the story that we were told,
Yeah.
it is a well-rounded package.
I think that's also a testament to how good the show is because there are secondary characters whom you kind of love.
Mm.
The story, of course, deals with the primary characters, but there's so much world building in the show that you're like, but what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
And of course, the show doesn't have the time or the energy to investigate every little niche and every nook and cranny in the world that they've built. So in that sense, it's like, you know how after Twin Peaks was finished, they released those books?
Mm.
I would totally buy a dark book.
Oh, a dark book or a dark comic book, like take my
Yeah, like
money,
something
right?
like that. Yeah, exactly. I'm like
Like,
there's so much meat.
When this show finished, as soon as it finished, I went on, I googled dark merch, and there's like
Yeah.
nothing. There's
Yeah.
there's like a couple of posters. Otherwise,
Oh, James, just go out and buy a yellow raincoat.
I almost did. I almost don't joke. I almost fucking did. I found the exact raincoat that Jonas wears. I swear to fucking God, I almost bought it. Also,
Like, for instance, there was one episode that deals with, like, I guess more of a history of Bartosz. Like when he travels back in time, and I like that episode. And I wanted to see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
More episodes focusing on secondary characters. That's my only minor complaint.
I'm sure we've talked about this many times, but it's a thing we see in every great movie, every great TV show. You could make another movie or TV show based on any one character because they're so well fleshed out, and that's never really the case because that would be impossible.
Yeah.
But that's always the sign that you've got good quality shit,
Yes. I mean, my other minor criticism with the show would be that I feel like maybe I'm just not quite smart enough to understand all the subtleties in the plot, but I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, like
I also feel like though
definitely
that's
hard to follow, but
I feel like that's the only issue I have with the show is there's a difference between having a show that is logical and makes sense. You just have to pay a lot of attention. But I mean, we'll get into it later in spoiler territory.
We're in spoiler territory.
Okay, so the too long don't read version is the way. So there's a paradox in the show. So that because it's a time travel television show, it has to make use of a few paradoxes to kind of keep things going.
Yeah.
Because in the traditional time travel narrative, you go back in time, and depending on the creator's interpretation of time travel, either you can't actually change the past, or you can change the past, and it's like a butterfly effect situation. Now in this one, what they've done is it the boot? What do they call the paradox? Where
bootstrap paradox.
Yeah. You essentially send an artifact back through time, which causes the creation of said artifact.
Yeah.
And it uses this quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main method of.
Yeah.
I guess you call it cheating, because every time travel story needs some type of cheat.
But what I love about the show is that the whole show, like the whole premise, the whole like foundation of it, is it's one giant paradox.
Yeah. Now.
Like it's the show. What I love about the show is it's the cinematic representation of the Ouroboros, the snake eating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's complex and convoluted, but at its core, it's that simple idea, which is the whole thing is just the fact that this whole town is just an incestuous kind of cycle, like never-ending cycle. Yeah. Like
that's right.
I think it's genius.
Yeah, it is genius. The one problem I have is the way they handle so the premise is essentially due to a mistake in modern day, not the future, the modern day. There is essentially an apocalypse. A container of mysterious matter is opened in a power plant, which triggers the apocalypse. Now, the one problem I have with the show is how kind of cheap it is that during this apocalyptic event, there is a period of around 1 minute in which you are completely immune to any and all paradox events or consequences. There's no chain of consequences for about 60 seconds. And they use this to insert all kinds of stuff. They're like, because that 1 minute. And I'm like, I understand when you have such a complicated show and you want to take it in so many directions, you kind of need a cheat. And I get that.
That
but
was it.
At the same time, they fit so much crap into this 1 minute that I'm like, come on, guys,
because I'm watching the show and I'm like, okay, how is there two Marthas? How is there two, like, how did Jonas both live and die?
There's 3 Marthas, like, thank you.
Yeah, it's like, how, like, that's, I'm like, they're cheating, and then towards the end of, like, I think the last season, they're like, oh, the apocalypse, like, paused.
Actually, at one point there's 4 Marthas.
Fuck, I don't know. There's like
there's Martha when she shoots Jonas, slightly older Martha that makes her do it, middle-aged Martha, and older Martha.
No, but I'm talking. Yeah, I'm talking about like in the house. There's when the apocalypse happens, there's that fracture point where it's like that 1 minute. It's like where they can move the pieces around without any consequence to the timeline, which is why they can have 2 separate timelines with two separate Jonas's or Marthas. So it's cheap, but it's not a big deal. At least they explained it.
Yeah, but the one problem I have is, now you might know this because I am generally not the best at picking up stuff. So we'll just quickly do a brief recap of Jonas's story. There is a boy called Jonas.
Jonas.
His mother is Hannah, right? Now, no. Now she's having
Don't get into the family tree. I can't.
I won't. She's having an affair with Ulrich, whom she was interested in high school.
Yeah.
Ulrich, who I refer to as Mads Light.
Yeah, Mads, and he's and Ulrich's brother's name's Mads.
Yeah. So, anyway, essentially Ulrich has a son called Mikkel.
Yeah.
Right? Now the basic premise of season 1 is Mikkel gets murdered or he goes missing. And now anyway, there's a search to find him, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Story happens.
Wo ist Mikkel? Callum, wo ist Mikkel?
I don't know, check the cave. Anyway, now there's another Jonas who I call, so I have names for these guys, right? You've got Jonas the Younger, which is the young Jonas. You have the time traveling savior, which is Jonas Prime. Yeah, which is like the guy with the beard who has optimism.
He's credited as the Stranger.
The Stranger. Yeah, so but I call him Jonas Prime.
Stranger Jonas. I just call him Stranger Jonas or middle-aged Jonas.
Stranger Danger. And then you've got Jonas the Elder, which I want to talk about, which is
Adam.
No. Jonas the Elder is the guy in the 1800s who's he's like Stranger Jonas, but he's got like a thinning hairline. He's more haggard. He's the step between Stranger Danger and Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've inserted all of these different events into that 1 minute where there's no consequences.
Yeah.
Right? But the story of how Jonas went from being Stranger Danger to Adam was never actually articulated, and that kind of confused me.
That's my biggest problem with the show is they didn't satisfyingly explain how
he can exist in a way.
Because he can exist. That's not the problem. Like it's very clear that Stranger Jonas slowly turned into Adam over time.
We don't see anything like about how it happened.
No, but like
the physical transformation is just like an off-screen. The time travel has been fucking with his body, which I think they should have done. They should have done in increments.
I agree with that.
They shouldn't have done so quickly. So
and also Ava should have been more scarred as well.
Yeah, I can't hear myself in my headphones, so I'm just yelling at you guys.
No.
Okay, so
you're fine.
So the physical transformation is like whatever explanation.
Yeah.
My issue was more to do with the mental transformation, where when young baby, sweet baby Jonas meets Adam, his older self, who is the villain in the first season or whatever. And he says, like, I know you don't believe it now, but you will become me. Like there are things that'll happen that'll make you change your mind.
Yeah.
And we never see those things.
We never really see that.
I think that there's like he shoots Martha, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
Is that what he sees?
Other than the fact that even young Jonas is just like keeps yelling like, I just want this sick shit to end. Like he's just like fuck it, which is technically Adam's goal, is just to erase everything, and young Jonas does eventually accomplish that goal. So they both technically have the same goal. It's just the way they go about it is opposed.
Very different.
And then when Jonas grows up and becomes Adam, they just didn't explain it too well.
Yeah,
But
like my thing was...
At the end of the day, it's not a big problem because, like I said, they technically have the same goal anyway.
Yeah.
And I think because Jonas was stuck in the 1800s, early 1900s for so long, he just accepted it at some point. He's just like, there's nothing I can do.
No, that's right, yeah. But I kind of would have liked a little scene of how Stranger ended up there. You know,
I was actually I didn't have time to look it up, or I didn't know exactly where to look it up. But because the first season is 10 episodes and season 2 and 3 are 8 episodes, I would have liked season 2 and 3 to also be 10. I think that way you could still keep the very
tight nature of it.
Yeah, structured nature of the show, but also just flesh out a little scenes here and there.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would have been perfect, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just going to go around in circles, much like the show.
We need to break the knot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. Okay.
But so I don't have, we don't have any order we're going to talk about. But the first note I wrote to talk about is the soundtrack.
Oh, man.
Fucking best soundtrack for a show ever. Like
it's brilliant.
So not only is the score amazing, like the incidental music, or not orchestral,
the title track and all of that. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the music within the show to drive the scenes. Like the score by Ben Frost, I think, who's Aussie, I think. But anyway, not only is that amazing, but every like pre-existing song that they chose is fucking fire. Like,
like all the 80s tracks in 80s tracks in German.
All the 80s tracks and all the weird, like, I don't know, alternative folky kind of weird synthy, like just amazing,
all good stuff.
Amazing. Like I made a list of every song in the show. I listened to it. It's incredible. Just 10, like 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like,
and we've said before, as we said earlier, the casting.
Like I'm so impressed with that. Like, you watch some shows and you're like, that kid looks nothing like that old man, even though they're supposed to be the same. This is like the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. It's
like they chose it so perfectly. Everyone is so perfectly cast.
Yeah, they are. It's like it's an art almost to itself. Like the younger version of what's her name?
Which one?
The daughter of the detective.
Katerina?
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Elizabeth,
The deaf one.
Yeah, the deaf one.
She's not always deaf, but all right.
Well, it depends on which timeline.
Which timeline?
I was gonna say the lady who's her own mother. But
that's so weird.
See that I said to you guys, like, remember in the good old days of season 1 when we thought only Jonas was the product of like time travel incest?
You know what I love though?
It turns out the whole fucking town is time travel incest, and they're all born pretty much from Hannah.
Yeah, because she's a time traveling hoe.
Like she.
I'm serious.
Bartosz also did a lot of good work.
Yeah, that's
true. But Bartosz is only born because. Oh fuck! Now I have to remember all the timeline. Fuck. So. Yeah, the family tree gives me a headache.
We're not going to go down that road. You can look up the family tree if you're interested.
Yeah. There's still things like when I finished the show and I was looking it up, I was like, wait, he's connected to that person? How?
Yeah, like I wrote it down. It's darknetflix.io. You can see, like, it's an interactive family tree. even after seeing the show and like looking at the family tree, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So the prime villain of season 1 is technically it's Adam, like he's like the puppet master behind. But the villain that you see is a gentleman called Noah. And I remember being so impressed with Noah in season 1. I was like, he had a kind of a real menace to him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he has like that faux religious background, I was like, that's really interesting.
He's like dressed as a priest.
Yeah, it's like you don't see that. You've seen it before, but not too often these days.
Yeah.
And I was really.
I like that episode where he's like digging or something, or sweeping the floor. I think he's got his shirt off, and he's got that
the emerald tablet tattooed on the back.
Yeah, the Sic Mundus.
Does he have the emerald tablet, the Hermes tablet, tattooed across his back?
He's got like the it's got like it's almost like a
it's like a rock
with all the writing. Yeah, and I was like, that's
the emerald tablet.
Weird cult kind of thing.
It's hermetic, and because that's like the whole thing is like their order comes from like old school occultism stuff.
Yeah.
But Noah's
no, go on.
Noah's Ark across the whole show.
No pun intended.
Oh god. That's Noah's path through the whole show is some of the best character development I've seen in years. The fact that he goes from such a hard villain, and then slowly motivations are revealed throughout the show, and then some of his backstory, and then by the end of the show, you feel a kind of sympathy for him because he's had to endure so much.
Yeah,
he's still a villain. Yeah. But by the end of the show, pretty much everyone can be seen as a villain.
Exactly. Like the first season, like he is like, who's killing these children? Like who's the child killer? And then you introduce this creepy priest guy who like preys on people and manipulates people, and it's like, oh, it's him. And then it's like, then you find out like his younger self and like how he got involved and yada yada, and how he is like so indoctrinated that he knows he's gonna die for the cause, but his younger self has kind of has to lock in to that, because he's like, otherwise you will not become who I am, and if you don't become that, then you will not exist. And so he's kind of forced to be this evil. I love the show, like I love like Claudia, because in the first season, I want to say, like, people like, you think she's a bad guy. You're like, who the fuck is this creepy old lady going around? Like, she's doing shifty shit. And the second season, you're like, oh, hang on, no, she's actually maybe the good guy, and and then like at the end of season 2, you're like, holy shit, she's evil.
No,
season 3, you're like, oh no, she's the only good one.
She's playing a whole different game. Like they're all trying to fight each other, and she's like, I'm actually trying to solve the problems.
Yeah, she's playing like 5D chess.
I actually said that to Nathan when Nathan was talking about how hard it is. He was messaging me about how hard it is to understand, and I'm like, I think I said it in our group chat. I'm like, the thing about Dark is you're literally watching a game of actual 4-dimensional chess play out, and you don't know where all the pieces are. So that's why it's hard to watch, because you've got a multi-dimensional, multi-timeline game of chess, and you can only watch one scene at a time.
Yeah. And
I felt mostly sorry for Ulrich for most of the show.
Yeah.
Stuck in the mental hospital for decades.
I've seen people criticize him because the dude has a dirty dick. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, but that's one of the lesser crimes in the show.
Even in different timelines, he can't keep it in his pants.
Yeah, but I feel like the karmic suffering for poor Ulrich getting stuck in the mental home.
Oh, can I just say two things that ties in with like everyone in the show? Kind of, are they good? Are they bad? Good and evil? Like, you don't know. They're both. They're the like, and that's part of the good and evil, and black and light and shadow. They say that a lot. That's part of the show. Like, what it's trying to say. Like, no one's all the way good. No one's all the way evil. Everyone's kind of in between.
The choices you make as well. Exactly. Like, that's how some people are different in different timelines. Yeah. The different choices that.
But can I just say, like, to tie into that Ulrich point, who's the guy with the scar face?
What's
his name?
No, not
no, a
Tiedemann.
Doppler.
Doppler.
Yeah,
Helgi.
Helge,
Yeah.
Helge, yeah.
Yeah.
The bit where Ulrich smashes little Helge's
Ah.
face with the rock, that is the
Oh.
most brutal thing I've ever seen on television.
Yeah, and he's
Like
like,
you
he
would
goes at
do
it.
it.
Like, no, fuck that. I'm not gonna smash that little. Oh, poor little Helge. No,
I know.
but like you know, I've seen a lot of violence in movies. You know, all sorts of crazy shit. But that was the most brutal thing I've ever
Ah,
seen.
cringy, man.
Just
Yeah.
oh god, like poor. But see, in saying that, like then, like you were saying, Callum, like the karmic.
Ah, comic slapback was
Yeah, and
intense
then
for Ulrich.
Ulrich gets stuck in like the mental institute, and Katerina comes to save him, and then she never returns. It's like everything.
That's a whole sad thing in
The show, yeah,
itself.
the show is just super sad. It's super dark. Like it's in the name.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like and I don't use the term lightly. It's kind of Shakespearean in the twists, like
Yeah.
the whole idea of getting murdered by like for example, so Katerina, Ulrich's wife in the show, she figures out a few characters in the show figure out time travel of the on their own. So she figures out that by going through the cave, she can go to the past.
Mm.
She finds out Ulrich's in the mental home in 1980, whatever.
86 or 87.
Yeah, because Ulrich tries to murder Helgi in the 50s or whatever.
Yeah, and he gets put in the mental institute
Now,
for 30 years.
yeah, so Katerina's mother in the 80s works as a nurse, or assistant at the place at which Ulrich is being held.
Yeah.
And she needs the key from her mother to set Ulrich free. And I was watching it, and I was talking to our mutual friend Callum, who was also watching it around the same time.
Yeah.
And my God, when Katerina's mother murders her, Jesus Christ, I did not see that coming at all. I was devastated. I was like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
how can she die?
This like ties into what we've been talking about with the show, and it's like Katerina as a teenager is such a bitch. She's such a bully. She's so mean to everyone. And then like for 2 seasons, you're just like, oh, you know, what a little bitch. And then the 3rd season, like you find out she's being abused by her mother at home. And that doesn't excuse it, but it's like
no.
It adds a new dimension that you didn't know was there.
Yeah, for sure. And
then you find out that older Katerina has now gone back in time and is murdered by that same mother who abused her.
Yeah,
it's just
crazy.
Like that's just cruel.
Yeah, I watched that and I was like.
Also, I mean, maybe we'll talk about this later, but all the people who get horribly murdered are the only ones alive at the end.
I didn't pick that up.
Adam, Jonas murders his own mother, Hannah. Does he choke her or smother with a pillow?
With a pillow, yeah.
And Katerina gets murdered by her mother, and then who else is there? Peter gets stabbed to death by the criminal, the bandit guy.
Oh yeah, poor Peter.
And then at the end of the show, everyone disappears except for those characters who got like brutally murdered. So I guess that was a consolation prize, you know, like
I'm also
a nice.
While I remember, I would just also like to props to the I forget the character's name. Props to the character's name where you never actually found out what happened to his eye. One of the cops.
Oh.
And then like one of the last sentences of last season is like, so he goes to tell them what happened, and it's like,
it's really embarrassing or whatever, and then bang.
Walla,
Walla, that's the one,
that was a good gag, because in the first season he has the eye patch, but it's fresh, like it's on, so it's like something happened, and I'm like, they're gonna explain it, right, because of the time travel, like he's gonna go, like Jonas is gonna go back and accidentally poke him in the eye before the first episode or whatever. And then season 2 happens, and there's like another joke about it where they don't reveal it. And then season 3, I'm like, they're gonna do it, they're gonna reveal it, right? And then it's like, no, it's just like a gag.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Who said the Germans can't take a joke?
Yeah. That German humor we hear so much about. What else? I mean, cinematography, amazing.
Amazing.
Set design, I think, really good, especially the different, like the cave, because the cave where they go and time travel, it's like, and then they come out, either 30 years in the future or 30 years in the past, and
And you've got the visual cues.
it looks different depending on what time you're in.
Yeah.
So I like that. Like as soon as they walk out of the cave, you're like, all right, it's the 50s, or all right, it's the 80s, or all right.
Yeah, they do really good visual cues. Like they'll show a character in the modern time, and then they'll go to like the next scene, and it might be in the future or whatever, and you know that's the character because they might have their hair in a similar way, or they might have the same pendant or something like that. So even if you're like, for people like my dad who's watching the show, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, just pay attention to the things like the way they walk, the clothes they're wearing, and you'll pick it up.
The cars, man, the cars, all the cool old retro cars.
Yeah, the costume design's really good, all the different time periods and stuff. But like I was talking with Nathan about it, and like Twin Peaks is like hard to follow because it's so deliberately obscure, and like it's trying to be strange and it's trying to be ethereal. Whereas Dark is hard to follow, but just because it's all out of order, like it's all.
Yeah, it's you're watching 4-dimensional chess.
Yeah, it's
Dark tells a full story.
Yeah,
whereas Twin Peaks doesn't.
Yeah, like if you pay attention to Dark, like all the pieces are there. You just have to match them up, and you have to remember everyone's name and remember where everyone is in the chess game.
Thank God it's not Russian, because then we'd have to remember 2 names for each person. And I think that's where I draw the line. I'd be like, nah.
Yeah, like I think it took me all of season 1 to remember everyone's name. And then season 2 started, and they like introduced new characters and new timelines. I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and then season 3 happens, and suddenly it's like, because I remember my dad was like, "Oh, but now my dad's like, oh, but there's 3 timelines." I'm like, wait till you get to season 3.
Yeah, no, and then there was like alternate parallel timeline, like dimension. Oh my god. Oh man.
Yeah, so season 1 is about the murder mystery. Season 2 is where everything starts to open up, right? It's like season 1 is established time travel. Season 2 is, what does that mean?
Season 1 is season 1 is like a primer, and then season 2 is just like, all right, here's all the other like cool shit. Like there's some there's some cool like stalker stuff in the future.
Yeah.
He's like walking around with like a mask and a backpack, and there's like bandits with like machine guns.
Because it's in the restricted zone.
Yeah, and there's like the forbidden zone. Yeah. That stuff was cool. Yeah, like first season is primer, and second season is like Looper with Stalker, chucked in, Predestination, like, and then it just goes fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, I just wish there were more scenes of Adam and Eva together, because I thought that was really interesting. Like because like the whole thing about Jonas is, at least in the Prime universe, it's like he knows about the incest between him and his aunt Martha.
Even when he goes back in time and he sees Martha, he's like, nice.
Yeah.
He knows, like, oh, you did it, boy. Here's the thing, though. This is because here's the thing. I like it because in the Prime universe, he's like, we're meant to be. I love you, please, blah blah blah. But then in Martha's universe, the alternate universe, it's her that's doing the chasing. It's her that's trying to hold the loop together, because she wants that forbidden love. That's why they're apparently perfect for each other, because they both have that same energy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I wanted to see them together more. It's so often that they're against each other, because obviously Adam is like, this is wrong, this is filth, I have to end it.
I do like the idea of like they both know about each other. Like Adam knows about Eve, and they're working together, but kind of separately and not. Yeah. And again, it ties into that idea of like light and shadow and good and evil, and Adam and Eve. Like it's deliberately in the name. Like they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, when they first introduced the alternate timeline, and like Martha is now Jonas, she's got like the yellow jacket and she's the main character. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But after a while, I was like, I get it. Like there's two sides of the same coin.
The duality aspect of it.
And then they introduced the 3rd dimension, which is the real world, I guess, which is our world.
I love that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And the idea that this is all just like accidental dimensions that shouldn't exist.
Yeah, so it's like 3 timelines, 3 seasons, or 3 cycles, they call them, and there's 3 dimensions. And I was just like, all right, I get it. Like it has, like I would have liked the fourth season, but I'm like, okay, there's this deliberate trinity of what's that thing? It's not a trinity. It's called something. I wrote it down.
Trick.
Oh
God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trip.
It.
Anyway.
No. Yeah. What do we? Yeah.
The three-sided.
The
thing,
Trinity.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Triptych.
Something like that. Yeah. I've got it in my notes. I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, like it's very deliberately structured that way. And like after a while, I was like, yeah. At first, I wasn't sure, but I was like, okay, I'm on board. What else? I sort of tying into Nathan's point at the start. But I don't know if kind of similar. But we'll talk about like how it was received in Germany. Watching the show, and there's like kids on bikes listening to 80s music and shit. And I was like, what was Germany like in the 80s? Like West.
What part of Germany?
Yeah, no, like West Germany. Like obviously the show is West Germany. Like, but what I'm saying is because shows around the world are so influenced by American movies and shows.
Look, I think there would have been a lot of American pop music, like it was in the show.
Yeah.
But I think it probably wouldn't have been maybe as optimistic an environment as it possibly was portrayed.
Like the 80s scenes were really good, and this is not a problem with the show, but I was just watching it. I was curious. I'm like, I wonder.
I mean, then again, Wyndon's portrayed as a very rural town.
Yeah.
So it could have escaped most of the tension of the time.
I think that keep in mind that most teenagers who weren't politically engaged.
I'm saying more stylistically.
Oh yeah.
So I'm saying this is just a question that I had, like a curiosity. Like, is it purely just the fictional Americanized like 80s American movie influence?
No, I feel like it would have seeped into Germany through the rest of Europe. The rest of Europe might have been influenced by America, but just because America was a dominant cultural force in the 80s, like I'm sure teenagers in Germany were aware of the cultural zeitgeist overseas.
No,
you know what I mean? Like
I was just wondering because like Stranger Things is very deliberate, very obvious,
American,
very in your face American. Movie, Spielberg 80s movie homage.
Yeah, that's right.
And Dark has some of those elements.
Well, although it did go 100% German 80s, was it that metal song that Ulrich liked?
Oh yeah, Creator. Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
But also this is kind of an off point, but like like Stranger Things and all those type of shows, like there's always like the American small town, but there's like a main street or a main strip.
Yeah.
Wyndon doesn't seem to have that. They never really show that, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that's just how German towns are built, or
I'm assuming that like the CBD might be more of like a instead of having a main street, it might just
there's no CBD because it's a small town.
Yeah, but what I mean is like
like Hawkins in Stranger Things or whatever. There's like a main street where there's like shops,
that's what I mean.
Ice cream parlor and stuff. Like in all American movies, there's at least an establishing shot of it or something. But Wyndon doesn't really have that, which I just thought I was curious. I wonder why. It was just a thought I had.
Yeah, but I think most towns probably don't have that, or at least don't necessarily.
They have a street with shops.
Yeah. But like, there's probably more than one street with shops. Like I think, like you said, the idea of the strip or the mall. It's a very American idea.
Yeah, but
no, that's not what James is getting at, though.
Yeah.
No, I think that
you never really see the town center. You never really see a shopping strip. Like there's no.
We only ever see like the sort of the back roads and shops that come to the power plant and some houses.
Police station, which is isolated. The power station.
Well, it's very. I think.
All they have is the crossroads in front of the power plant, which is the main sort of.
That because I think that kind of ties into the fact that the show's very tight. It shows you just where the characters need to go.
It's not a problem or anything. I was just curious as to the influence.
Yeah, no, I think you're right though. I think that might be like an American cinema thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe it was a deliberate choice. Like maybe they were like, "Do we do this?" And they were like, "No." Maybe they just wanted to be a bit different. Or they flat out didn't think about it and they made a mistake, or it was something they just overlooked.
I don't know. Yeah, it was just a thought I had.
Yeah, no, interesting to think about.
What else?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's lots to talk about, but I can't remember anything. I don't understand all of it.
So the end of season 1 has Jonas waking up in Terminator Land, and I thought that was sick.
Yeah, it's like welcome to the future.
And then it's like, what would you call him? His sister, technically. It's like bam with the butt of the gun.
Yeah, she's his sister and his great grandmother.
Something, I don't know, man. It's something like that.
It's so confusing.
But yeah, she's like, "Welcome to the future." Bang. And I was like, now I have to wait a whole year. Cool.
Yeah. Not me.
Yeah.
What a show. Cool. Also, like the CGI, there's not much CGI. Like it's all practical, but like there's like the
That was pretty good overall.
It's
like
pretty
the God particle dark matter stuff.
I actually,
cool.
I actually really like the simplicity, and there are sometimes when you see the electricity, and it kind of looks like the drawn-on.
I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that. Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah, I like how the God particle portal it's all like shapeless and moving and like waving, and then they electrify it or whatever, and then it goes into it's like a black orb.
Yeah,
it's like the black hole from Interstellar or whatever. It's like it's a hole, but it's like 3-dimensional, and then you can walk in, and it takes you to the different time space and different time. Yeah. Like that was cool. I really like that.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I think they do approach time travel in a way that hasn't been touched on too many times before. Like the way it's all done. Like you said, like the portals, even the gadgets, frankly.
I like the 33-year gap kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you can either travel forward 33 years or back.
I like that novel approach to time traveling because that's based in reality. Like it's the way the Earth revolves around the solar system or something, or like we're back in the same point. My only logical inconsistency with that is the fact that our galaxy is still moving around the universe. So the odds are that even in 33 years we still wouldn't be in the exact same place.
Yeah, it wouldn't be exact. I mean, in the show they explain that every 33 years the planets align and everything is in the same place, but then they break that by saying there's also the portal, and there's also that little orb device that lets them travel anywhere.
So I like the I love the device. That's what they call it in the show. The box.
It's like a clockwork kind of steampunk.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah. And then Martha comes out like the badass version of Martha comes out like to save Jonas. And then she has the orb on. I'm like, there's orbs now.
I was like, what?
She just chucks it on the ground.
Yeah, it's like handheld.
Yeah, she just chucks it on the ground. I'm like, that's awesome.
There's a person on Etsy who made the full size time machine and you can buy it for like $800.
The full size time machine. Wait, which time machine?
The device.
The box with the golden gears and stuff. I
was gonna say not the original machine, the townhouse.
With the Tesla coils. Pay for $800, I'll buy Tesla coils. That was cool, yeah. But that kind of ties into the whole how I was saying, this show is a cinematic visual representation or audio visual representation of the Aurora Boreas. It's like the whole show is just what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like the whole show is that the bootstrap paradox that they talk about. Like Tannhaus, the scientist, wouldn't have made the time machine if Claudia hadn't come back and given him the time machine.
Yeah, I also love the fact that he originally gets the book he wrote about time travel.
Yeah, he never would have written the book if he didn't get the book in the first place.
Yeah, I love that.
If he didn't write the book in the first place, then how did it exists in the
Yeah.
future for him to get it. And so it's like this circle of it's mind fuck. I love it.
It's not a problem for me. Like I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great.
The art of like they call it artifacts out of time,
Mm.
and I love that. And that's the technically second problem I have with the show is they have that very old style of thinking towards the end of the show about time travel, where if you actually change the past, you kind of disappear into magic particles.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
But I will just say that this is different because he's technically erasing his entire world and not his timeline.
yeah, but he still magics away into dust. You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like, and I use the term loosely, in the real world.
Mm. Yeah.
I would have liked
he
a more
would-
David Lynch
I think
effect where they just sort of poof,
No,
turn into like a smoking little black orb
Yeah,
or
just
something.
pop,
Like-
no. I think it would have been. I think it would have been more interesting. It would have been more interesting to me if him and Martha were alive and just continued to live in sin. You know what I mean?
That defeats the whole purpose of the show. What
I
the
thought it would have been. No, it would have been hilarious.
But that defeats no. At the end of the show, when the Tenhouse's grandchildren or children are coming down the road, and they're just like, "Screw this, let's just run away together," and
But I
like,
think-
that's how the show ends.
But I think the
No,
point
but like
is
my
that-
point is like I think it would have been interesting if they continued to exist, whether or not they stayed together. Because like I said, the idea that they just disappear into magic particles,
No,
it is very
that
old style of thinking.
No,
I think the point-
that defeats
yeah,
the purpose of the show. Like you're.
Yeah, but why though?
Because
Why
the
does
whole
it fit?
point-
They still
the whole
succeed.
point- the whole point of the show is that their two timelines, a product of something that never should have been, which is Tannhouse's experiment in the real world.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
No, all I'm saying is
both their timelines have to completely disappear from.
No, I know. All I'm saying is
So to visually show that.
for such an intelligent show, they used such an outdated way of thinking to end the
I
show.
don't know. How would you have done it to visually show that their worlds? Would you have everything fold in on itself? Maybe that would have been interesting.
Yeah, like something like that. But my point is,
visually show that they.
I was okay. No. I was okay with their worlds turning into dust or whatever. That was fine. But having Martha and Jonas in the real, actual, physical origin world
They're not in
poof
the
away
origin
into
world.
magic dust. No, they
They
were
are in the origin world. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the show.
Yeah.
To have them suddenly just, disappear like that. I was
But
like,
then-
it would have been more interesting if they just were around.
But I
Like,
think
they
it's more of
still-
an
No,
issue of
but if their
the universe-
timelines never existed, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
there. So they have
And
to
they
be-
would become artifacts, which is within the theme of the show. There's so
no,
many artifacts in the show.
the artifacts only exist in the two
Yeah,
incestuous timelines. The whole point of the show, Callum.
It's
you're
a
missing the
multiverse,
point.
James.
No,
They
no,
go
that's
through
the point
the
the whole-
interstellar-esque thing.
Yeah, but
I'm like,
the
it's
Tesseract,
completely
yeah.
possible.
No. The whole point of the show is that all the incestuous artifact, time travel, bootstrap paradox, chicken or the egg bullshit, it was never meant to happen. It only happened because Tannhaus made the time machine in his world, our world, the normal
Yeah.
world.
Look,
And
as,
so all
again,
those
as
things
far
have
as
to-
I understand
yeah.
it, and I don't understand the entire show,
Mm.
but in this, I agree with James in the fact that the whole thing about Martha and Jonas is they should not exist. The universe doesn't want them to exist, and so they live in a cycle of apocalyptic scenarios and suffering.
Yeah, incest.
Because it's the motif of there's a motif throughout the show of there is a cancer in Wyndon, and the cancer is the people.
Yeah.
The people that
that's-
shouldn't exist in the first place.
That's why the end of the show is so cool, because like everyone who is a product of that incest disappears from existence.
Because if
And the
Martha
only-
and Jonas lived in the origin world, that cancer is still there.
Yeah, exactly. And all those people who are outside of the loop are born outside of that time travel incest are all the ones who get to continue living and also get to seem to be able to live their best lives. Like Hannah in the two timelines is very manipulative and not a nice person. Katerina is a bully. Peter is an adulterer. Like they're not. But in the real world, without those without the incestuous relationships they formed, they're all like super happy and nice to each other.
Yeah, that's right.
They get like they live their best lives because they would, like, Katerina never met Ulrich, and because he didn't exist, and so she became a better person. Hannah never got married. Hannah never knew Ulrich, so she never became obsessed with him, and she never married Mikkel, you know. And Peter never married. What was the police chief's name?
Oh God.
Gone?
The
Police
lady.
chief's name. Oh, CH
Jesus.
is like a ch sound.
Oh God,
Charlotte?
Charlotta?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, he never met her, and so he's free to be with Benny, the transgender person. Like, it's just like, it's like the best version of their lives without all the crazy incest shit, you know. Also, fucking
Yes.
Adam and Eve, like, are completely fuckheads doing the dumb shit. Claudia's like MVP.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
the
I
one
know.
who figures it all out.
Time traveling superhero.
She, you know, if she, like, she's the only one who did her fucking homework. She's the only one who did.
Yeah.
Well, I did like one of the comments I saw on Reddit or whatever is like, well, Adam is technically a high school dropout because Jonas just kind of disappeared,
Yeah.
right? So and same with Eva, right? Martha's.
I'm
just
sure
like,
he's
so,
I'm sure he's
so,
smart, but he might not be intelligent.
So Claudia's the only one who went to fucking school and like got a degree and had a job, and she's the one who figured it out.
Yeah.
Very good.
Trickotera. I think that's that 3-pronged thing. I think I found it. Tricotera. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also like all the science, whether it's like, you know, however it's implemented doesn't matter. Like, I like that they're just like, there's the God particle, you know, the Higgs field, the Higgs boson. Like, if you go through the center of black hole, what happens? What's on the other side? The Einstein-Rosen bridge, you know, the Schrodinger's cat. They're just like throwing shit around. I'm like, I love all that shit. Like, it doesn't matter how
Be
it's,
confident with it.
yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter how it's implemented as long as you're like, fuck it.
They have
this
to.
is
Yeah.
what we're doing.
They have to not explain it, but they have to talk about it in the show because the time travel devices and you have all the portals. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, quantum. You just have to chuck around the Q word.
Yeah, well, they're just like quantum. It's quantum and entanglement. There's two things
Yeah.
at the same time. Like,
And you know what? As a layperson, good enough for me.
Yeah, I was like, cool.
No, I'm like, I know quantum's a thing that is real, and I know
Yeah.
it's weird. As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
it's perfectly legit.
I've heard of the Mobius strip. You know, like, you know,
I'm sure there's
I've
a
heard-
scientist out there who's like, this is not real at all.
Yeah. Wait till Neil deGrasse Tyson watches it. He'll rule.
I know.
Oh no.
He'll annoy us with his facts and his logic.
Yeah. I did like when they get to the second, the mirror world, as I like to call it, and like people with scars like have it on the other side and
Yeah.
stuff, and like it's always
Magnus is covered in tats.
yeah. What the fuck? He's like 17. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, one or two
Yeah.
tats, fair enough, you know, but he's like whole body. I was like, when did that happen?
I'm like, that costs a lot of money, Magnus.
I mean,
Yeah.
they look like prison tats, so you know.
Yeah.
But what the fuck? But I like how like it's all like covered in it's like Silent Hill.
Yeah,
Like, it's like it's always foggy and shit.
that's cool.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this until I saw someone comment on it. But the mirror world is always foggy, and the prime world, or you know, the first
always
season
sunny.
world, no, it's always raining.
Ah.
You know how in every fucking scene where like Martha and Jonas are like professing their love or hate of each other, and it's always raining. I'm like, oh, this is just super over melodramatic.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're mirror worlds. It's
Yeah,
like,
but I'm like, it actually
rain
makes
and
sense. Yeah,
fog.
in the other and assumedly in our world, in the third world, or the first world, I guess it would be. I guess it would be sunny. I don't know. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
it's the little details.
Yeah, there's a lot of details like that you can blink and miss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Poor Mikkel though. I think that's but the saddest story for me was poor Mikkel's
Mikkel
story.
is the Michael.
Where?
I know. It was like mind blown. Mikkel is
What?
Michael, mind blown.
Oh, that's another thing, right? That's another thing. I've seen so many time travel shows and movies that I could guess a lot of things. I was like, well, that guy's older version or whatever. But the show has so many of them, and then goes back and goes, oh, you thought that guy was related to that guy? Well, he's actually related to all these guys. Like, it's just like it's a paradox. It's both predictable and unpredictable at the same time.
I just had the story of like Mikkel's story about how he got adopted, and then he kind of started to forget, and then he saw Ulrich and he kind of remembered, and then he blocked it all out, and I was like, that was really sad. I felt so bad for Ulrich. I felt bad for Mikkel.
And then he wouldn't have killed himself at all, except Jonas was like, "You don't do it. You don't do it." Here's his suicide letter, and Mikkel's like, "I guess I better do it."
Yeah, it's like,
I have to for the timeline.
Yeah, it's like maybe you were sent here because I'm supposed to do it. And
Jonas, it's like, no, that's not the message I'm sending.
Jonas
it's like the irony.
What? No, that's not what I meant.
It's funny because the great irony is that chances are Mikkel probably would have had a cry in the basement when he saw his younger self, and then continued his painting, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Because I know he was upset, and that's why he left.
Yeah.
But it's like he was never going to kill himself, and that's the great irony. I was like, at least the first 2 seasons are a complete exercise in futility. And that's what the first 2 seasons at least told me. And it was like, for at least Jonas, from his point of view, you can try as hard as you want.
Yeah.
But inevitability will always remain.
Exactly.
This is always going to happen. People are always going to kill themselves. And until you break the loop, and again, the only person capable of breaking the loop, like you said, was Claudia.
Yeah, well, that's what happened to Adam.
Anything Jonas could have done, regardless of that 1 minute of leeway they had, it's all inevitable. It's futile.
That's what happens at the end. Is like Adam kills Martha with her baby using the black hole material or whatever. And he's like, and then he's like, opens his eyes like, oh, it's all still here. And Claudia's like, you dumb bitch. Like, you've been doing this. He's like, you've been doing this for millennia, just going around in circles. It's like, I've realized I'm the only one who's outside of the loophole who can fix this shit. It's like, you've just been doing the same shit over and over again.
And I think that's what made it so powerful. Like, there were moments in the show where Jonas he started to understand he's powerless. It's an irony because you're a time traveler, right? Time doesn't mean anything to you at that point other than your own biological clock.
Exactly.
Right? But yet he's completely powerless. Which is what I thought was one of the best things of the show, was the idea that you can have all the power in the world and still have no agency.
Exactly. That's why, like I said, the transformation from Jonas to Stranger to Adam wasn't super, well developed. But it's like, it makes sense because at a certain point,
you get bitter.
Yeah, he realizes that he's just going through the motions. Like, he can't.
That's it.
He can't break out of the mold. Like, he can't change things that have already happened. He's like, you can't kill. Adam's like, you can't kill me because I already exist. So if you try to commit suicide.
They show that in practice with a few cool scenes of like guns, like trying to shoot someone, and the guns just jam every single time.
Jonas tries to hang himself, and young Noah comes in and is like, "What? You can't do that." That's not how it works. Like, like I'm here because you sent me, and you're
completely powerless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I liked a lot. Like, and it's a very dark interpretation of time travel because, like, the science fiction of time travel, it's always, you can go back and kill Hitler, or you can go back and stop X from happening. You're a superhero. Yeah, like Marty. But that's not how it works in this show.
Marty McFly can make a visible impact on the future.
Yeah, exactly.
He can make a physical change on the future by doing something, or not doing something. Whereas, their characters in Dark can't do shit. They just have to keep going through the same cycle over and over and over again for all eternity, which Adam was trying to break, but in trying to break it, he kept
it going.
Yeah. I also like at the end of the show when you see the real world or whatever, where they're having the dinner party.
Yeah.
And then Hannah's like, I feel like deja vu or whatever, which deja vu comes up. Deja vu comes up a lot within the show, a glitch in the matrix. But because it's in the two timelines, it's like, well, that's just part of the time
Yeah.
travel cycle. But that because she feels it in the real world, like I wonder if the creators of the show were trying to say something with that.
You know,
I
I
think,
read about that on the net, and at the end of the show, she goes, "Oh, I'm pregnant. I have an idea for a baby
yeah,
name. I'm thinking Jonas." And people are like, "The loop isn't broken. Oh my God."
yeah,
But I'm thinking about it.
I,
I'm like, you know, chances
yeah,
are, right? Chances are, she liked the name Jonas in
before, yeah,
the shows in the world,
yeah.
the worlds in the show, I should
As
say.
long as
And
long as as long as the name for Jonas didn't originate through that loop, like
that's exactly, yeah,
Katarina's name existed because Hannah went back and told Katarina's mother as a child that her name was Katarina, and Katarina's mother liked that name. But
yeah,
because that never happened, assumedly Katarina in the real world has a different name.
yeah,
But
yeah, that,
you never learn the name because it's not important. But
yeah.
because Hannah just says, "Oh, I like Jonas," that must have just came out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
that's what
Because
I interpreted that as her just liking the name
yeah,
generally.
because for the creators of the show to be like at the very end, be like, "Oh, there's a chance it's going to happen again," that makes no sense, and it defeats
Yeah,
the previous 3 seasons. Like it defeats all the pain that all the characters went through. But
I thought
I
they
do like.
probably shouldn't. I wouldn't have put that in if I was in
Well,
charge.
I do like
But
one of the comments I saw. I do like that someone was like, I like that it's kind of like with the Waller's eye. It's kind of like maybe just a joke. Like
yeah, exactly.
the fact that every time you feel deja vu, it's because an entire fucked up incestuous like time travel plot happened and then resolved itself in the blink of an eye, and then you felt like, oh, what was that? I think I experienced that before. I think that's funny. Like every time you're like, I've done this before. Like you're like, there's like a whole
Yeah,
another world that was created and then destroyed in the blink of an eye. Also, like Ten House's plan in the real world was to create a time machine to go back and save his child and
yeah,
grandchild, and that failed and ended up creating the two splinter worlds, which is
yeah,
the places we follow in the first and second seasons. But then Jonas and Martha from those two worlds come together and travel to the real world and save Ten House's
yeah.
children and grandchild. And so his plan worked. It was just super, super fucking convoluted. And he didn't know it worked. In fact, he didn't even have to make the time machine in the first place because it worked so well.
Yeah.
And so that's the paradox again. If he didn't ever make the time machine, then how did they come back?
Yeah.
You know, it's
I know,
funny.
that's brilliant. Yeah.
But I do like how his pain, like how we were talking about with futility, like the characters keep going over the same thing over and over again. Like his pain, like is basically the impetus for the show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing. You know, I think we've talked about Back to the Future before, like how people hate the second movie. I love the second movie; it's great.
People are wrong.
It's not as
Back
good
to
as
the
the
Future.
first. Yeah, it's not as good as the first.
The second movie is my favorite Back to
Yeah.
the Future from an entertainment perspective.
Right, yeah, I fucking love it. It's great. Like, it's not as good as the first technically, but
No,
it's still a great movie.
but it's big and fun and
Yeah, and I love Biff World and that like alternate.
yeah.
And one of the things I love, which you can only really do in a time travel movie, and not a lot of time travel movies, I guess they do, but Back to the Future 2 is maybe one of the first ones. I don't know. But like showing the same scene from a different perspective. Like I love where Marty goes back to the 50s in the second movie and sees himself from the first movie in the 50s and has to avoid himself and like redo the same things from the first movie. You know, I love that thing. It's like that's a cool time travel mechanic that, you know, you don't see a lot.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, when the second season starts and the third season starts of Dark, I'm like, they're doing a lot of the same things again. You know, they're showing a lot of the same things, but now it's in the mirror world. But after a couple episodes, I'm like, no, this is what I love about Back to the Future 2 and time travel. It's like the same thing, but different. It's like, what would happen if you saw your future self try to intervene? Like, you'd have to avoid that because if you stop that, then you'd never would have gone, you know, it's all that kind of cool shit.
Yeah.
The only question I had Well, I had a few questions like after watching the show. We never learn who Peter's mother is. We know his father is Helge, but we never learn. And Peter exists outside of the knot, so his mother is not
Yeah.
part of the incest. It's not important because we know she's just some woman. But I thought it was interesting. Like some woman at some point came from out of town, I guess, and hooked up with Helge, who has like fucked up face. And I just wanted to see how that. I would have liked the scene where that happened. Like poor Helge with a fucked up face, falls in love or something. Like.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I was just the thought I had because they don't explain that. They just say, oh, it's some lady who's from out of town.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking like if this cycle has just happened over and over for like eternity. At the end of the cycle, when Adam kills Martha, in the timelines where Claudia doesn't come and get him out of the loop, what does he do after that? Like his whole
old age.
His plan, his whole plan didn't work. His whole plan didn't work. So what? Does he just chill and?
You know what he does? He goes to hit up Eva.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, look, look, it didn't work. Might as well make the most of our sick relationship.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm like, do they just hook up? Like, what the fuck?
Time to get to know my 3 sons.
Yeah.
my 1 son in 3 parts.
Yeah. I like to.
We get to find out.
He has a hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, is that a birth defect because he's part of all of the incest of all?
No, you know what though? I feel like
the whole town is like everyone is their parents.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, the show is just so complex and so interesting, and like I was like edge of my
wonderful.
seat. Yeah, I was like, it's like that. You've seen the memes of like people with confused look on their face with all the math equations around their head. Like that is me watching the show, but in the best way possible. Like it's just so much fun. Like I literally on my fingers was like counting and I had the IMDb page on my phone open, like reading all the characters' names, going like, okay, so this guy's this guy, and this guy's connected, and this guy's this. Like it's so much. That's part of the fun. That's part of the sci-fi kind of.
Yeah.
And there's just like I said, there's so many details and little bits and pieces that, like, I wanted to rewatch the show as soon as I finished it, but also
oh my god,
like, I need a break kind of thing.
Yeah, no man.
Yes, no, I could not do that. I can't watch it for at least a decade.
I could watch it with someone. I could watch it again with someone who'd never seen it.
That would be interesting, yeah.
But I couldn't watch it on my own, only because I think it'd be interesting when to talk to them about it, and they'd ask questions and see someone's reactions for the first time.
It'll be interesting to rewatch it and go, and now that you know everything that's going to happen, and go, okay, I see where they set that up. Like I was thinking about it. I'm like, throughout the first like 2 seasons, Jonas keeps looking at the floor in his house, like the stranger Jonas, the older version. He keeps looking at the floor, I'm like, what is there? Are they going to show that there's something hidden under the floorboards? Keeps looking. And then like at the end of season 2, when Adam kills Martha, or was it season 1 where Adam kills Martha? Like that's where she died.
Yeah.
So he was just looking at the spot where she died. I didn't even get that until like
I didn't get that until you told me. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like there's so many details because the show is so well constructed and so well thought out and so planned out from start to finish that like if you go all the way back to season 1, I bet you there's things where you're like, that's from season 3, but it hasn't happened yet. But it has happened because the person came back in time and did it before.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit in I think season 2 where 2 characters are walking by the lake and they're like, there's a rumor that there's a dead lady in there and she comes and gets you.
Katerina.
And then later, like in season 3, Katerina gets killed and thrown in the lake. I'm like,
I didn't even put those pieces together. That's
right. I'm saying so. It's definitely worth a rewatch, right? Like, it's a show.
Katerina.
It's a show you can rewatch multiple times and go, I see what they did there.
And I'll get a headache every single time.
But it's such a good headache.
Yeah,
it's worth the headache.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, I definitely I want to rewatch it, and I want to buy some. There's no official merch. There's some T-shirts that people have made on Redbubble and stuff. I might get one, but like it's a shame there's no official. I know it's not a show you can have like fun merch.
This is gonna sound weird, but I want an action figure of the stranger.
Fuck
with
me.
like the cloak and the
You know what I want?
briefcase.
You know what I want? A 3-pack action figure set. Young Jonas with the yellow raincoat. Stranger Jonas with the beard and the raincoat. You know, the black raincoat.
You
Yeah,
get the-
and
you get
the
the-
suit
And then Adam.
in the
you-
with his
you
like
get-
imperial gear.
Yeah. So like
You could
three.
get,
It's like the 3 stages.
You could get bunker wallpaper socks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, how
Oh,
cool
man.
would an action figure set be?
Oh, we didn't
They're
talk about that.
expensive.
How fucking creepy that bunker is, where they take the kids.
Yeah.
And they just play like 80s music on high volume, and they have all the animals and wallpaper. It's like super creepy.
They could bring out a board game, figure out the family tree,
Oh god. Fuck.
connect all the pieces together.
Incest, the board game. Fun for the whole family.
Oh no.
Oh god.
Oh Jesus.
Oh man. Yeah, but 11 out of 10 puts American shows to shame.
Yeah, easy man. Like it's
Yeah.
such an aggressive, creative vision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't like as much as we had on Netflix for like canceling shows left and right.
Mm.
Like at least they let this one tell the whole story.
Yeah. And
I mean,
yeah,
granted, it was one of the better received shows critically, so it's not like it wasn't like
and
a Sense8 situation where it had a big following, but it wasn't doing so a cult following, but it wasn't doing so well.
I have a feeling that I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that from the get-go, the creators were like, we have 3 seasons all set up already. Do you want to?
Yeah, they would have gone to
What a fun-
Netflix and be like, "Look, here's the story.
Yeah.
It's 3 seasons
I imagine
long."
I imagine
Yeah,
their preparation documentation would have been like their prep docs would have been
yeah,
crazy.
like they would have had no choice. Like you fund the whole thing or you fund nothing. Like we either do the whole thing or do nothing. So I don't think it was like a season by season case. So even if there were
And realistically, I think Netflix probably would have got the show somewhat. They would have got grants and stuff from Germany for being a Netflix original German show. Like there would have been incentives, most likely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but it's such a different show. You know, we don't see a lot of non-English sci-fi.
It's singular. Yeah.
Netflix, premium story shows.
That's
so definitely like
watch it 3 times.
Watch it.
Never stop.
The next
never
time I
stop
watch
watching
it, the next time I watch it will be 33 years.
That's it. Never stop watching it. Never break the loop.
Yeah, never
That's
break
it.
the loop. Just you have to restart it every time you finish it. Just restart
That's
it.
it.
It's like a
Because it never
donut.
ends. It never ends.
It's a donut. It's a circle.
It's a donut. It's a circle.
Continuous loop. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think
I know
that's
this wasn't the most cohesive episode, but it's a difficult one to
like
talk
I said,
about.
I gave you ample warning for listeners. Like if you listen to that whole thing, you haven't seen the show. Like, what
Good
do you
luck
do?
telling people what happens.
Yeah, like I don't know how to explain it to you. So, but yeah, like if you're still listening and haven't seen the show, check
I
it
can't
out.
recommend it highly enough.
And if you've seen the show and you're listening, like, fuck, how good was it?
I know.
Fucking good, eh? All right, I think that's it.
Alrighty.
You guys mention anything?
No, my brain's starting to ache from all the thinking about Dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too much
It
stuff.
is. It's not light little watching, but I do recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know when we'll be back. Maybe next month, maybe the month after. We'll see how the lockdown goes. We'll see how we feel about Umbrella Academy and The Boys and whatever else coming out. I don't know. So
Chances are positive.
we're still around. We're still doing episodes, but we don't know what the schedule is. We don't know.
Don't know what it looks like yet. We have to figure all that
We
out.
don't know what exactly we'll talk about. So, yeah, just keep an eye on our social media. And even though there won't be a lot of posts, when we do upload something, we'll obviously post about it. And if you're subscribed to the feed, then it'll come up in your podcast app or iTunes or whatever you use. I think that's it. Let us not distract from the main point. Vote is
That's it.
Mikkel.
Yeah.
Ik bin nur. I love all I love they just keep repeating the same Ik bin du. Like they just keep repeating the same thing. I fucking love how dramatic it is. Like it's so good. I love it so much.
Yeah. That's why Germans dislike it a fair bit because it's like it's very
dramatic, overly dramatic.
Overly dramatic for no reason.
That's why I like it. Like Jonas.
I'm wondering.
Jonas is always yelling and crying.
Was that like a design choice they made for Western audiences? Like, would it be easier for us to follow along what they're saying if they're loud and slow? Like,
that's an interesting point. Maybe they did on purpose. I don't know. Maybe it was just stylistic. I don't know.
You know, I think it's
it works for the show though.
It's probably stylistic only because it's such a aggressive, serious show.
Because
also, what are you supposed to do?
The nature of the show is so operatic. It's like good versus evil, and there's like the shot of like Adam and Eve and holding the apple, and it's like and there's like music and shit. Like it's so like there's like this operatic nature to it. So
exactly, gothic.
Yeah, it works really well. I love the time tunnel. Like they dig in the cave, they dig the tunnel, and it like ends in the door, and then the door has the time. What do you call it? Like the fracture in time space.
Yeah,
that's cool. Fuck, really good show. I want to rewatch it, but I'm gonna take a rest.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
I guess we'll see listeners in a month or two. I don't know. See you then. Stay safe.
As soon as legally permissible, James, we'll try and get you over to watch a movie on the home theater.
Yeah, we have to pick a good one. But yeah, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy.
Please wear a mask.
Wear a mask if you have to go. Don't go out unless you have to, and if you do go out, wear a mask. I think our listeners know all this shit. But yeah, just try to stay sane and do what I did, just unplug for a bit, play PlayStation or whatever. That's what I've been doing. So I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. So
is that good?
Oh, it's fucking awesome. It's so good. I'm just hoping that Dark Crystal season 2 comes out, and I think that'll be the cure for all.
Oh man, that
lockdown.
show.
That is like the most purest joy I've felt in a long time.
Look, people, I think I told you, I think I've said this, I even said this on the last review, review we did for it. People laughed at me at work when I said I've never been so excited to see puppets having a sword fight.
Yeah, it's so...
I was on the literal edge of my seat. I'm sitting up in bed like...
Yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm sure you know which scene I'm talking about as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So hopefully that hasn't been delayed due to the virus. So we'll see how that is.
And Cobra Kai is coming out on Netflix.
Coming to Netflix, yeah. So that'll make me feel good. But I don't know if they finished filming before the pandemic.
No, it's finished filming.
Oh, did they? Okay, good.
But this season 1 and 2 are coming out on the 28th of August
on Netflix.
And season 3 is done. But Netflix doesn't want to release it straight away, and they're doing another trailer for it and all that kind of stuff.
That's fair enough. But yeah, hopefully that comes out soon.
That's probably the next show I'll rewatch. I'll probably rewatch it on Netflix.
Yeah, that'll be worth rewatching.
Just to be a fan.
That'll be a good cure for the lockdown woes. But yeah, everyone out there, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Hope you're doing okay. Take it easy. And adios, cousins.